Hi chefs, hope you're all okay. Another recipe video for you. This week I'm going to do some individual apple Tarte Tatins. So I'm going to do them individually, but Tarte Tatins usually, or traditionally I should say, you would do in a big pan, and you'd make a large one and cut them into portions. But I'm going to do them individually because I don't really have a big pan that's suitable and that would fit in the oven. So I've just got some small dishes, little metal dishes that I'm going to use. Okay, I'll put a list of the ingredients that you'd need if you want to have a go, and I'll put a picture of everything as well. So to start with, I'm going to make my caramel for this recipe. I'm going to do a dry caramel, so just sugar brought up to the boil, no water, and then I'm going to whisk in some butter. I'll show you a video of that in a second. Okay?
Okay, so in my pan I've got about 100 grams worth of caster sugar, and I'm just going to bring that to a boil. I want a nice light caramel. I don't want it to be too dark at this point, because it is going to go back into the oven to cook. And whilst I'm doing that, I just want to cube up some butter. So I'm going to chop around about 70 grams of butter into small cubes. Okay, now because this is a dry caramel and I've not got any water in there, I can stir it. So if I was making a wet caramel, I wouldn't be able to stir it once the sugar dissolved in the water because it would crystallise. But because this is a dry caramel, I can. So just let that get going. And this is on probably a medium heat. I don't want it to cook too quickly and to colour too quickly. So whilst we're waiting for this to turn, I'll give you a little Tarte Tatin fact. So, Tarte Tatin was created in a hotel in France called the Tatin Hotel, and it was run by two sisters, the Tatin sisters. And it's said to come about because one of the sisters, who was the cook, was overworked, and she was so busy, she made an apple pie, and she put butter and sugar with the apples, she put it in the oven, and she'd completely forgotten about it. And it started to burn, and she could smell the burning sugar and the burning apples, and she took it out, and she had to serve it, she didn't have any other choice, and she served it, and some of the customers said this was one of the best desserts they'd had, and it became a speciality of theirs in their hotel. And they never actually called it a Tarte Tatin. That was a hotel critic in France that named it the Tarte Tatin. So a bit of a history lesson for you there, chefs. It's funny, isn't it? A lot of the recipes that we make religiously nowadays all started from a mistake.
Okay, so you can see that starting to turn colour now. So I don't want to take it much further than that. I just want the sugar crystals to all be gone. And then I'm going to add my butter, okay? Because I do want this to be nice and dark, but we're going to cook it in the oven. So I'm just going to turn my heat down a little bit. Just going to let those sugar crystals melt, and then I'm going to slowly add in my butter. Okay, I'm going to do it fairly slowly, and it will bubble, so just be careful at this stage. If I added all my butter quickly, what would happen is the caramel would cool down and it would solidify, and you'd have to reheat it, and it'd end up going further, okay, go darker. So I'm just going to turn my heat off now. I may turn it back on if I feel I need to warm it back up a little bit, but you should just be able to see that it emulsifies. And there's still a lot of residual heat in this pan as well, so it's fine for a little bit. This just makes a really nice, almost toffee. You could add a little bit of cream to it as well to make it into a nice caramel sauce. Okay. So that's looking okay. So I'm just going to add a little bit of salt to it as well, just make it a nice salted caramel. Okay, and that's my caramel made. Okay, so the next part of my recipe, I've got some apples, obviously, as we're making an apple tarte tatin. So these are Granny Smith apples, so they're nice and firm apples. When they cook, they're not going to turn into mush, they're going to hold their shape. And I just want to peel them to start with. And try and peel them and keep the shape of the apple. Okay, there's one. Okay, so my apples are peeled. Then what I'm going to do, is move that over to the side, is just chop them in half. So straight down the core. And then using my knife, I'm just going to take this middle core out. You could use an apple core if you've got one before you cut them. Or you could use a melon baller just to take that middle out, but works just as well with a knife. Just watch your fingers. Okay, so I'll finish this and then I'll show you the next bit. Okay, so now my apples are all prepped. I'm going to prepare my mould. So I've got these. Now traditionally, with a tarte tatin, you'd make it in a pan. You'd put your sugar and butter in your pan. You'd heat it up. You'd lay your apples in nice and neatly. Then you put your pastry on, then you bake them. Now obviously we've done that slightly differently because we've made our caramel separately because of I'm using these little moulds. If you wanted to do it the bigger way, that's absolutely fine, okay? But I'm just going to get a bit of butter and I'm just going to rub butter around my moulds. That's just to help the pastry not stick. And then I'm also going to put an extra little knob of butter in the bottom of each of my moulds, just for a bit of extra luxury. And I'm going to put a small sprinkling of cinnamon in each one. You don't have to put the cinnamon in if you don't want to. I like cinnamon. If you don't like it, don't worry about it. And then I'm going to put a bit of the caramel in the bottom of each of these, okay? So don't worry if your caramel's gone a little bit stiff or it's gone a bit hard, because it will melt in the oven. My oven's set at 180. Again, I'll put a little reminder at the start of the video. So a nice amount of caramel in the bottom of each one. You really want it to coat each mould. So be generous with your caramel. Okay. And then we want to put our apples in flat side up. So half an apple in each one. In fact, go for a different apple in that one. That apple's not very neat. Okay. And then we just want to put those on a baking tray. And then I'm going to get the pastry. Okay, so I've got some ready rolled puff pastry. So this pastry that I've just bought from the shop. It's all butter pastry. There's lots of different varieties of puff pastry you can get in the shops. This one's all butter. You can have a go at making the puff pastry if you want. If anyone wants the recipe for that, I can send it to them. Just move that back a bit so you can see. And I've got the biggest cutter from your set of cutters. So exactly the same cutters that you guys have. This is the biggest one because what we want is the pastry to be bigger than this because we're going to tuck the pastry under the apple. So just cut out however many you need. I need 5. And any puff pastry that's left over, you can either save it for something else, or you can roll it up with some cinnamon and sugar and make some little, almost like yum-yums. And then, so hopefully you can see this. I'm going to put the pastry on, and then just with a knife or a spoon might be better, just tuck the pastry in and under your apple really gently. So you almost want it to take on the shape of your apple. And then once you've done that, just prick a hole in the top of the pastry. And get your spoon and just tuck it down. And then prick your hole. Your hole. See? Turn it over. So if your pastry is a little bit sticky, you can use a bit of flour or a little bit of icing sugar on it. Okay. Oh. And prick it again. Okay, and then they will just go in the oven for about 15 minutes, and it's on 180. Okay, so my tarts are now out of the oven. You can see they're nice and golden brown, they're nice and crisp, there's caramel bubbling up the sides. These took around 20 minutes to cook, but you want them to be nice and golden brown to make sure that pastry is nice and crisp. Okay, so what you want to do is leave them for about a minute just to rest before you try and take them out. When you take them out of the moulds, be very careful because they are really hot. If you get the caramel on you, it will burn. Okay, so just be really careful. And just go around with a knife just to loosen the pastry a little if it needs it. Tip it upside down and just lift it off, and it should come out nice and easily. And you can see how beautiful they are. The apple's nice and tender, the caramel's nice and golden, the pastry's nice and crisp. So like I did last week, I'm just going to have a go at plating a couple up for you, just again to give you some ideas of what you could do. I have actually made a little bit of whipped cream that I've put a bit of cinnamon in. So just a bit of cinnamon cream. I've not sweetened it because I don't want it to be too sweet, because my tarts are quite sweet. And you can see I've just used a bit of caramel on my plates just to give it a little bit of decoration. So I've got a spoon, and I'll just place them on my plates. Probably one like that and one like that. And then with my spoon, I'm just going to do a little kind of rough quenelle. So a nice big dollop of cream. And then I've got some garnishes that I've just got from the garden. So a couple of blackberries. Blackberry goes really nicely with this dessert. So cinnamon, apple, caramel, blackberry. I've also got some little thyme flowers, which I just picked from my garden. So just here. And also some little lavender leaves. So not too many of the lavender leaves. So I don't want to flavour it too much with lavender. But again, it's quite a sweet dessert, so just helps cut through. And the thyme flowers, thyme goes really well with apple and caramel and cinnamon. So just a little bit of that as well. And then maybe just a bit of mint on this one. Just because, why not? Okay, and that's it, basically. Nice and simple, didn't take too long at all. Nice and effective dessert. Enjoy.